This is Calabooks with Think Future. So, I used to work a long time ago for a cable TV company back up in Canada. And when I first started working there, they did a history of cable TV in Canada. And I thought it was really interesting because the history of cable TV is actually full of theft. Basically what happened was, at the very beginning of things, TV stations had antennas. And they used to send their signals over the air, only over the air. So there was stations in Buffalo that would send their signals over the air to everybody in the Buffalo area. And because those antennas were pretty powerful, you could send those signals all the way to Toronto, all the way to Canada. But the problem was, unless you had a really good receiver antenna, then you wouldn't be able to get a good signal. So some enterprising Canadians went and put up their own antenna, and they got a really good signal, so they were able to watch the TV shows from Buffalo. Now, this signal was so good that they realized, wait a minute, I bet you some of my neighbors would like some of that as well. So they took the signal from that antenna and they wired it to their neighbor and their next door neighbor and the next door neighbor after that. So they put a cable TV, they put a cable from their antenna to all of their neighbors. So they wired up their entire block, and then they wired up beyond their entire block, and lo and behold, cable TV was born. Now you're saying to yourself, wow, that's great, that sounds fantastic, but what were they doing? What exactly were they doing? They were stealing the signal. They weren't paying 1 red cent back to the Buffalo stations. They were stealing the signal and then charging people to allow them to have access to the signal. They didn't have access to any of the signal. It was literally illegal. But it couldn't really be illegal because there were no laws at all pertaining to that. There were no laws at all pertaining to somebody putting up an antenna and then reselling this content or reselling this signal to other people in the area. There was no law there. There was no law there. It was kind of like when Uber and Airbnb, these companies that came into the space, it was permissionless innovation. They went in and they just created it in the absence of law. And in this absence of law, they were able to make enough money to become an actual force, so much so that the Canadian government actually made them into a legal entity. And then they turned around because they made so much money off this cable, and they were able to start paying the Buffalo TV stations for their content. So if you think about it, they started with theft. They stole something, took that thing, and spread it around, made money off the spreading of this thing that they stole, and then eventually became a legitimate business. Now, I'm not telling you to go out and become a thief to start your business. But if you think about it, a lot of these businesses that are out there today, a lot of this innovative stuff like Uber and Airbnb and all the things that people point to that are innovative, some of them have skirted the law a little bit, right? They built things that were in those empty spaces where there was no black or white as to whether it was legal or not. So you have to think to yourself, when I'm doing my startup or I'm thinking about my business idea or I'm thinking about innovations, should we be thinking about possibly working in that space, that empty space where there may not be laws just yet?